Good afternoon, everybody. This is Debbie Horovich from Social Sparkle and Shine, and I am so excited that you're joining me here today. It's always such an adventure and so exciting. You never know what's going to happen with Google Plus Hangouts on Air. You might have met me just in the last couple of weeks on the Firepole marketing blog, and it's been an adventure over the last couple of months because I actually wrote those blog posts, the Audience Alchemy of Google Plus Hangouts on Air and the Business Alchemy of Google Plus Hangouts on Air, which were published on Firepole Marketing on the blog October 6th and October 13th, and we are live today, October 20th, 2014. So the two posts have been published now for 2 weeks. And for 1 week, respectively, prior to this Hangout on Air being recorded. And what's interesting, what I like to do that is a little bit different within the Hangouts on Air community and within the community of professionals who are on Google Plus and online who are doing this within their businesses. What I like to do differently is I like to put in a lot more effort. Instead of trying to do things is quick and easy, what I try and do is I like to try and focus on bringing people information that I've really planned out as much as I possibly can. And so what I've been exploring with Google Plus Hangouts on Air is the value in planning your Hangouts on Air 2 and 3 or more months in advance. And there's a lot of controversy over, what happens when you plan your Hangouts so far in advance. It's not only just controversy, but a lot of people just question, like, what's the value? Is it possible that your audience will forget in between? And really, does it have any results? So I like to do these Hangouts on Air. You might have actually met me for the prior to last month's Google Plus Hangout on Air, which was with Forbes.com. It was live on Forbes.com. As I do these Hangouts, I have a few little visual demonstrations for you. I like to make these Hangouts clear that, we do what we can to plan in advance, but it's always a test. It's always a demonstration. I'm always looking at the end of it for how can I improve upon what I did, or how can I use this Hangout on Air opportunity to show that when you take an action or when you don't take an action, it has particular results that become predictable for planning your Hangout on Air. And so this particular Hangout on Air is different from the Hangout on Air that I did with Forbes. This one, as I mentioned, it is called the Audience and Business Alchemy of Google Plus Hangouts on Air. Sorry, I'm not so great with the cards yet and the camera, but I'll get there eventually. This one, in comparison to Forbes, was actually closer to 12 weeks of planning time, which is a really long time and quite a bit. Now, this is a guesstimate, but I'm saying I probably put in about 35 hours worth of planning in total. And the majority of it for this one was actually in the writing and editing of the two blog posts. So I wrote about 2,500 to 3,000 words and broke it into two different blog posts for Firepole Marketing for their blog. And this Hangout was already embedded. I created it at the end of July when I initially started writing the guest blog posts. And it was the first 2 weeks of August that I was editing the blog posts, and but this Hangout on Air was already scheduled, was already public, and very quickly had a number of people joining it. Again, as with the Forbes Hangout, I really have invested no money at all into promoting this Hangout. But despite that, and I said this one really probably I only put in about 5 hours worth of planning into the Hangout itself, and that's mostly just planning time. I didn't invite a lot of people. I haven't had the opportunity to do a ton of engagement on the Firepole blog, but despite that, still had 52 yes RSVPs for this Hangout on Air, which is really, really good for a Hangout that I haven't put an awful lot of planning time into. I did put a lot of time, as I said, into writing the blog post, and that happens sometimes. It's in contrast to my experience with Forbes, where that one, I wrote the article, it was quite a bit shorter. It was just about 1,000 words, 1,200 words, and but that one I probably wrote it in 2 or 3 hours, and then there might have been less than an hour worth of editing, back and forth work, and the article was published 2 weeks after I submitted it to Forbes. So there it happened really, really quickly, and I was able to put in all of my planning time into the Hangout on Air. But with the RSVPs, we also had 14 maybes, just to show you the contrast of the case study numbers that I'll be sharing later. The audience embed, and this is the most important thing that I talk about with Hangouts on Air, or one of the most interesting things that people like to talk about right now, is embedding your Google Plus Hangout on Air, embedding your future show that you are planning right now, embedding it into existing media channels where they already have an established relationship with an audience, where they already have a brand credibility worked into the media channel's name, where the audience is always going to rely more on that media channel than on individual necessarily individual people who are presenting the content. So it doesn't really matter who the media channel writes about, their audience is interested in it because they're loyal fans. So on Firepole marketing, what I like about it is it's a pretty big audience. 37,000 monthly readers is what they talk about from an audience standpoint. But in stark contrast again to the Forbes Hangout that I did last month, Forbes actually has millions of monthly viewers, and we had much fewer comments and a much less engaged audience from Forbes than we did from Firepole marketing, and that's not especially surprising to me. I am a member of the Audience Business Masterclass and the alumni group that is on Facebook, and it's a really engaged community, and that was why I was so excited to be able to do this Hangout on Air specifically for the readers and for the audience of Audience Business Masterclass, of Danny Inney's Firepole Marketing, and of any of the other groups and programs that he works with. If you do post anything to social media, I'd love to see it later. If you share it to Twitter or Google Plus, or even LinkedIn. If you're joining me on this event, on this Google Plus Hangout on Air, or you have questions, use the live on Firepole, hashtag live on Firepole, and I'll be able to see your messages, probably not live while we're recording today, but I will be able to get to them and recognize you for your participation. It will be good for you to be included in what's coming up. And you never know, because I do use these all as case studies for future speaking engagements and things like that. So you never know where your participation will take you. It might get embedded in some really big places later. So what I promised that we were going to talk about today, and I'm really excited to introduce you to my friends who are joining me on the panel live today. What we're going to talk about today is, what to do if you are just launching your very first Google Plus Hangout on Air. We'll get into that. We also will talk about, what if you're already producing a live webcast and you really want to start to get more and more results from the investment. And the investment for most people is not a lot of money, but it's a lot of time. And are you actually getting the business results that you're looking for? So my name is Debbie Horovich. I am the owner and sole proprietor of Social Sparkle and Shine, which is a consulting agency based here in Toronto, Canada. And I'm also the creator of Celebrity Hangouts on Air, which is a unique approach to planning Google Plus Hangouts on Air that shows professionals and professional marketers especially how to plan their Hangouts on Air so that they attract celebrity guests, so that they have the opportunity to build really large and established engaged audiences, generate sponsor revenue, and really meet the business objectives that you have set out with every single episode that you produce. So I'm going to introduce our panel guests for the conversation now, and we had some questions that were asked on the blog post. You'll see them if you're watching this on Firepole Marketing and you scroll down, you'll see the questions there, and we'll be able to answer them on this video. And I'll start the introductions with my co-host, my trusted advisor through the Google community, Molly Youngblood Geiger. And Molly, I think you might be muted, so hello, please introduce yourself to the audience, and I'm excited that you're here.
Hi, Debbie. Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate the opportunity. My name is Molly Youngblood Geiger with Design Right for You out of Jacksonville, Florida. I am also associated with the Google Partners community, where I'm an ambassador, over 20,000 people, and with the Google Small Business community of over 100,000. They have selected me as a business advisor. So with that being said, I appreciate the opportunity to participate about your subject matter, HOAs, how to host them, share some tips, some tricks, some experiences of mine. I can say for myself that I started my own HOA series from the Google Partners community. We had an opportunity where we have HOAs all the time for training, and I thought, well, why don't we do a local meetup of some of the partners? Because for the most part, Google Partners is it's an online digital community. With that being said, there are several partners here located here in Jacksonville, Florida. And so I thought, well, wouldn't it be a great idea to do a local meetup and do an HOA so we could share it with our community? So I'm happy to say we have some participants. We did have some problems, some technical issues, if you will, which really got me geared into, well, what can I do as a host to prevent those technical issues? So hopefully we'll have an opportunity to touch on that later on in the HOA.
Absolutely, and thank you again for joining us here today. I like to, I want to let everyone know that as much as this is an example and a demonstration of many things, one of the things that we're demonstrating here today as well is the successes that I've had in the past through very recently writing an article for Forbes.com and embedding the future Google Plus Hangout on Air into that article. That's what brought Molly to me into my community. Molly and I had never met before publishing that article in Forbes.com, writing that article for them. When she found it, when she searched Google, the Hangout hadn't yet taken place, so she had the opportunity to reach out to me and actually participate in the live recording that we did on Forbes.com. So that was really exciting, and I'm really glad that you're here to join us, Molly. So Leonardo, thank you for joining us as well on the panel today. Oops, let me get the camera on you. I think that you'll have to unmute yourself. If you could introduce yourself to our audience, let them know what drew you. Sorry, my mouth barely works today. What drew you into this conversation and to participating in this Hangout on Air?
Hello. Hello, I'm Leonardo, the Companionator Bustos. I help singles meet and fall in love with their best match possible. And it's a pleasure to be here with you, Debbie, and for the audience. I found Debbie through her Forbes Hangout article, and I was looking for the the influencers and the best people possible to help me create some of the new programs that I'm looking for. I'm looking to create an online dating game for a lot of my followers, and also some new subscribers that I'm hoping to get. And I was looking to the best people in the business to help me create that. So I'm glad that I was able to meet Debbie here. And I'm also going to try to work in the speed dating program too. So it's a great honor and privilege to be here, and I'm looking forward to learning.
Thank you. Can you see me blushing? I appreciate you being here. I think both of your ideas for Google Plus Hangouts on Air are awesome, and I'm really glad that you're here to represent what I think a lot of our audience is like. You know, the best way to use Hangouts on Air, the best way to get started with Hangouts on Air, is to dive in and to use them for your business and think about what is it that I want to create socially. What is the position that I want my business to take? Last introduction, we have Joyce Murphy, who I believe joins from the Audience Business Masterclass. Are you there, Joyce? Hopefully. I think you'll have to unmute yourself.
Yes, I found it. That was a tough one. Okay, well, I didn't know if you were putting me on the panel, so I'm surprised. Hello, everyone. And you were saying where I come from? Audience Business Masterclass. I've been working at it now for almost a year and making some progress. Been in business for a long time for myself, and I am living in northern Michigan.
Awesome. Well, I'm so glad to have someone joining us from Audience Business Masterclass. Oh, there you are. There's your camera's working. I'm glad to have someone joining us from Audience Business Masterclass because it gives us the opportunity to have that real sort of conversation. Very similar. I don't think Leonardo is in that community exactly, but that's in a similar way to why I'm happy that Leonardo can join us. But we can talk today about what we know from the inside of Audience Business Masterclass, how it's similar to planning Google Plus Hangouts on Air. What I've discovered, all of Celebrity Hangouts on Air and all of my experience with Google Plus Hangouts on Air, especially with Celebrity Hangouts on Air, not necessarily the brand, but the experience and the style within my business, it started when I joined Audience Business Masterclass, which was just about 18 months ago, January or February 2013. And Danny Inney's promise in the initial video in the webinar that I watched for Audience Business Masterclass was that you'll be invited to speak at conferences much more easily. You'll have an engaged audience. You'll be able to attract clients. You'll have, I don't know if he used this terminology, but the feeling I was getting, you'll have sort of celebrity friends, and you'll be asked to speak at these conferences and stuff. And a lot of those experiences for me, even though I have not been especially diligent with working through Audience Business Masterclass, I'm starting to experience those benefits, and a lot of it is I'm seeing the lessons from that coming through. And it's not only from that, of course, it's from lots of other places as well. So I'm so glad that you could join us here for the conversation today, Joyce. And I do apologize. I know, as I mentioned, I didn't do nearly as much diligent planning for this Hangout on Air. And sometimes, it's just they can't all be 100-hour investments.
Well, let me say, Debbie, excuse me for interrupting, but it's such a pleasure to meet you. I think we have passed about 2 or 3 messages, is all. Just very little, but for some reason I feel connected to you already, and I'm just really excited about what you're doing. So I'm thrilled to be a part of it.
Good. Well, I love to hear that. I definitely can't complain. You all make me feel so good. So let's get into the conversation. I mean, I know that with the articles that I wrote, that I posted for Firepole marketing, they were fairly general, and my intention is that I want people to start to think about Hangouts on Air as you can really do anything you want with it, and it doesn't have to be difficult to think really, really big with your Hangouts, but for some reason, people tend to get tripped up with some small things. So, as I mentioned, I did make the promise. We'll talk about what launching your first Hangout on Air starts to look like. We will talk about monetizing. I'll take you through, the top line value. I really want you to leave this conversation, whether you're watching this video live and participating, or using the Q&A app to engage with us and ask questions. I do want to encourage you to use the Q&A app, because what it will do is it will help document. Is that Harry Potter's closet behind you? I would hope so. Sorry, very own Q&A app that I was talking about. I might as well put it up. So there was a question that came up from John. Is that Harry Potter's closet behind me? So I would guess that would be the closet that he's talking about. I hope so, but no, it's actually just a washroom. So, but thank you for asking that question. And what happens is, when you use the Q&A app, and there's all sorts of people who hate Q&A app for a variety of reasons, if you use it with Chrome, you can probably have the experience that's intended for it, which, as a producer of Google Plus Hangouts on Air, I personally like the Q&A app, because what it does is, in the video after the live recording, it puts wherever the video is, whether it's on someone else's blog, whether it's on a mass media channel, whether it's on your own blog, on YouTube, or on your Google Plus, it has a yellow bar along the bottom that says something Q&A app, click to engage, or click to participate. And any time that you're watching it, I think that yellow bar, one, it's eye-catching. It makes your video stand out in a sea of other videos. Secondly, the sign itself and the fact that you have the Q&A app on indicates to people that you're being more social, that you're more interested in what people want to hear and want to say. And even whether you successfully are or you aren't, with the Forbes Hangout, I had intended to turn the Q&A app on, and then because of a technical glitch, it wasn't actually turned on, and I couldn't use it at the last minute. So whether it works for you or not, having it turned on, whether you're able to use it or not, having it turned on, giving you that yellow bar, at a glance, it makes your Hangout on Air appear to be more social and more interactive and more engaging. And then even if people don't ask questions on the Q&A app, I still think it makes your Hangout stand out more. I'm not saying that it's necessarily going to work for everyone or for every single Hangout on Air that you do, but I recommend that you try it and play around with it. I might be the only person who had a really hard time with it, but at the start, when I was first trying to use, the Hangout on Air app, I didn't get it. I did not understand how to use it. I didn't know how to answer people's questions. So that being said, I've had a couple of questions come up already, and Leonardo is chomping to get into the conversation. So you said, are we able to ask questions live? Yes. Jump in.
Well, the questions live that I was asking about is how do we ask questions on the Q&A app live? Do we have to be an audience member, or can we be a panel member, or both? That was my question.
Good question. You know, about the panel member, why don't you tell me? if you go to the Q&A app on the left-hand side, Leonardo and Molly and Joyce, we can all test this right now. If you click on the Q&A app, are you able to post a question?
No, that's why I was asking. I couldn't find any place to post a question.
I don't think so. Prior to, yep, and it's because you can't. So prior to the Hangout on Air starting, if the Hangout is, if the Q&A app is turned on, which for this particular Hangout I have both the Q&A app and the Showcase app, and we'll get into a quick chat on that in a few minutes. The Q&A app, I had it turned on, and I could post that question. So I did post a question earlier when I first turned it on, saying the Q&A app is turned on so you can ask questions and engage, and that gives me the opportunity. Now,
can I interrupt you?
Ask questions. Sorry, Joyce?
Yes, I was wondering if I could interrupt you. I'm going to be the first grade teacher here, so bear with me a minute. But I don't know how many people in the audience have never used a Hangout before. I mean, I'm just discovering as I hover my cursor over the top of Leonardo's face that I see the icons come up on the screen, but they are not there on the screen until I move my cursor around. So I'm wondering if others are wondering in your audience where the Q&A app is, for instance. As you go down, I see a chat, I see a screen share.
Well, it's actually different for the experience for you, Joyce, being inside of the Hangout is completely different for the audience who's viewing. So inside of the Hangout, there are certain apps that you can use and certain apps that you that are only the audience can access, or that they can only access in a particular way. And that's the important thing about practicing Hangouts. If you think that Google Plus Hangouts on Air is a channel for creating videos that you think might be valuable for your business, you really want to get into Hangouts on Air as often as you can live. And you will very quickly discover what parts of Hangouts on Air live, as you are today, Joyce. So, you know, high five on that.
Yeah, Jack, just for a second, I have a lot of experience with the Q&A app because in the Google Partners community in small business, they have training seminars all the time on A2As, and they always use the Q&A app. For all intents and purposes, we'll usually pick an advisor, an ambassador who has a specified skill set, say about AdWords, and they'll hold an AdWords A2A where they'll put this advisor up and they'll share their experience with it. But at the same time, it allows small business members and partners to post their question. So for me, I've actually used this quite frequently just to support my fellow ambassador and advisor, to get some activity going, so they're not just kind of left out there with their questions. But yeah, the Q&A app is actually located from the YouTube link for an A2A. That's where a person would actually ask the question, and then alternatively, the person hosting the A2A, they would be able to select the question by clicking the Q&A app link on the sidebar. And they can actually go in and pick and choose which questions they want to answer. So that's been my experience with the Q&A app.
Thank you. Thank you for contributing that. And something that a lot of people talk about, people who do use the Q&A app, one of the reasons why they say sometimes that they don't like it is that the questions disappear. And so one of the things that I do myself with the Q&A app is I won't necessarily have the opportunity to answer every question that comes in within the Q&A app, or it won't always be appropriate for the video that I'm creating. And to me, that's the most important thing. If I'm creating a Google Plus Hangout on Air that I'm investing time into planning, I have very specific business objectives, and the video is going to serve a very specific purpose within my business. And so the questions that come in, while probably very appropriate for the person and even appropriate for my business, they might not be appropriate for that specific video and for the outcome that I'm looking to, where I want to focus the conversation for that video. And so people complain about with the Q&A app how if you don't answer a question on your video, when you close your Google Plus Hangout on Air recording window, any Q&A app questions that you haven't answered disappear. They're gone forever. They're not documented anywhere. It's not like in your chat. And the exact same thing happens with the chat on the inside of the Hangout on Air, which is for participants only. That chat also disappears. So for both, when I'm hosting a Google Plus Hangout on Air, I copy and paste each one into a Google Doc before I finish the Hangout. So before I finally close, I wait for everyone else to leave it, and then I go in and I copy and paste each one into a doc. And then you can create blog posts you can get back to and answer everyone else who you didn't necessarily have the opportunity to, and it really extends the value of your Hangout on Air, is being able to get back to people and say, you know, this person had a really great question that they asked using the Q&A app during this live Hangout. I wasn't able to get to it right away, so here's a video where I'm going to answer the question, or here's a blog post where I'm going to answer the question, or here's a link to something that I found on the internet that answers the question for that person. And not only does that extend the value of your Hangout, but it also it allows you to connect with that person and repay them, you know, pay back in the reciprocity that you owe them for participating in your Hangout. Because anyone who asks a question or makes a comment, good or bad, is helping you, is helping to promote the Hangout on Air, and is helping you in lots of different ways. They're giving you feedback that's of value.
That actually happens a lot, Debbie, also in our partners community, because, for example, one of the leaders, Frederick Valles, he will frequently do HOAs about the benefits of AdWords and some techniques that he shares with partners on how we can get maximum use of AdWords. And we literally have thousands of people attend these HOAs. So just for time constraints, it would be impossible for him to answer every single question. And so normally what they'll do is the questions that don't get answered, they will take those questions and post them to our community and then use the plus sign and then ping the person who asked the question so that they know, hey, we saw your question, it didn't get answered during the HOA, but we have an answer for you now.
Exactly, and creating it in that way, posting it to the page, connecting the person's name on it, that's something that you can do not only on Google+, but you can do that on Facebook if that's where the audience and the community is more active. With Google+ Hangouts on Air, because what you're creating is really nothing more, it's no different in how it works than a YouTube video. So if you've ever shared a YouTube video on Facebook, you can do the same thing with your Google+ Hangouts on Air, is you can share it on Facebook in the exact same way, if that's where your audience is. And I know for a lot of people, that's where they come from. That's where they do the majority of their business and the majority of their work is right on Facebook. And so I think let's get right into, you know, the bottom line question for people. And I do. Let me post this question. I'm going to ask Leonardo. I know that you had a couple of questions pre-prepared. Did you want to ask your first question, and then anyone who has an answer, you know, you can use the Q&A app to actually make comments and to suggest answers as well, and I'll be happy to hear and include any questions or anything like that that you have. And then also on the panel, you know, jump in if you have ideas or questions or thoughts. Of course, I have answers for everything. So, hi, Leonardo. What was your question?
Yes, since I'm new to this platform as well, this question is for myself too. How would you recommend someone getting started in using Hangouts on Air where's a good starting point to start learning the fundamentals and how to get started?
Okay. Great question. I think, you know, there is a lot of information available out there. Certainly, I think for most people, my recommendation would be start researching within the media. I think the first thing that you want to look for is, are there any Hangouts on air or any videos existing, any video shows or live streams of any type that exist within that community, that exist, that are already serving that conversation? Because no matter what you produce, you want to make sure that you're taking a unique angle, that you understand your positioning within the marketplace and how what your conversation offers will be unique. Because there are only so many celebrities to go around. There are only so many established audience blogs and media marketplaces. And there are only so many brands that could sponsor Hangouts. But there is a never-ending amount of angles, or of, you know how they say there's riches in the niches, and you want to go an inch wide and a mile deep, right? So my recommendation when you're just getting started is you want to ask yourself some really important questions. The first question that you want to ask yourself is, who am I intending to help? So you get really clear on who your target audience is, and how am I going to help them? And the answer to that question, how am I going to help them, for a lot of people, I think it can and should come from, who are you passionate about helping? Who do you really feel compelled? What is your purpose here? And the reason why I suggest, you know, going with what you're most passionate about, what really drives you, is because Hangouts on air are not easy. It's not something that you want to take on thinking, oh, I'm just going to be such an easy, fast, rich celebrity. It's not quick, rich scheme. It's not something that allows you to, I mean, I certainly don't think of myself as a celebrity, so I wouldn't necessarily say that it's about becoming a celebrity yourself, but it's about the benefits of having celebrities and influencers participating in your content, participating in your business, and supporting you in a way that most people can't even buy. And that, I think, to me, is really valuable.
I can say for myself, Debbie, just real quick, I can say for myself, I provide digital marketing services, meaning website design, development, graphic design, SEO, digital marketing, and for me, the set of people I'm looking for, people who have questions about that. How can I help those people? I'm actually part of another community called the Google Helpouts community. A lot of people don't know about this community, but they are actively using HOAs for that very reason. They cover a wide variety of subjects like music, health, food and nutrition, digital services. I'm not going to bore you with all the different subjects, but just I think in general, if a person can decide who their target market is, you know, are they there to help people out, or do they have a certain subject that they're an expert about that they think they could share with people, I think that would set them in the right direction on the audience they're trying to reach out to.
Absolutely, and no matter what, I mean, you have to have that passion. You have to have that drive and motivation to really want to help the people that you're setting out to help. Like anything else, the more that you can be of service in the marketplace, the more value that you can bring to the marketplace, the more that you'll be compensated for it. So if what you're intending to do with your Google Plus Hangout on air is impact your business in a positive way, which is generally what I speak about, and you know, I don't look at Google Plus Hangouts on air, I don't look at social media even as a hobby or as something where I'm interested in having time wasted. I really want it to be valuable all the time. Joyce, where are you thinking about getting started yourself?
Well, my mind is running on what I've been doing with GoToMeeting. And I'm looking at Hangouts, and I'm saying, okay, now what is this going to give me that GoToMeeting does not? Or I've used a whiteboard application. I do a lot of screen sharing. I'm using it in a teaching way, but I'm seeing the Hangouts as being perhaps a more friendly atmosphere. I mean, you could turn it into a party, or it could be a panel. Looks like a great use for it. So I'm thinking that I would probably continue with my GoToMeeting for my classroom situation, but the other situations might be a panel discussion with the celebrities in my field, and I'm in the sewing and design field. I had a tailor shop for 20 years outside of Seattle, and I'm entering my new business, has been JSM Tailoring Tools, and I have traveled and taught around the country. Well, I'm getting older and I don't want to travel anymore, so I'm looking at online communication and all of the various options. So I'm wondering where Hangouts fits in with the mix. You know, it's kind of like selecting the right computer program to do the job for you. You know, if you've got a list of things, you're going to use the spreadsheet if you want to do math, or you're going to use Word if you want to do word processing. You're going to use InDesign if you want to put text and pictures on the paper.
Exactly. Sometimes it's not even just which computer program, but which computer that you use to get the task done. And I really agree with you. I think for the most part, most of the people who are looking at Google Plus Hangouts on Air for their business, frequently they are coming from GoToMeeting. And I think that Google Plus Hangouts on Air is something that you use in addition to what you're already doing in your business. And you test how it can serve things maybe that you weren't even looking for, that you weren't necessarily anticipating. I think probably when you started your classes with GoToMeeting, it might not have occurred to you, can I get celebrities, can I get influencers within my field to join me on the show, and would that even be something that would benefit you on GoToMeeting?
Yeah,
that's one of the reasons why I recommend brands and businesses explore Hangouts on Air, because of not only it's a very easy to use, it's a very simple tool to get started with video creation, and you can make it as private or charge for viewing and charge for participation in the same ways that you can GoToMeeting. It just functions a little bit differently, so it comes down to which one you prefer for that day or for that task. But what Hangouts on Air offers that GoToMeeting doesn't is all of the Google search engine optimization of what you're creating just by using the Google Plus Hangouts on Air platform and using the tool to create that video. It gives you all sorts of search engine optimization and Google recognition with this video. It's so much more strong than a GoToMeeting video would be if you were to record your GoToMeeting videos. And so that's why I recommend, like I don't use Google Plus Hangouts on Air for every video, for everything within my business. But when I want to bring in the power of an influencer into my community, and I want to have a face-to-face discussion, when I want to give my peers and the people that I'm working with the opportunity to mastermind with someone who's extremely influential, doing that over a video is a really powerful way to connect people.
Debbie, can you share with us how you landed that Forbes article? I think that was a game changer. That was a really a coup.
I absolutely sure. I wonder if it's the question that gets asked of me all the time, and I think everyone's heard the story, so I don't have to tell it anymore. But I guess I should. And I went through the process with everyone who is my classmates, my participants, my comrades within the Audience Business Masterclass. So Audience Business Masterclass does promote guest blogging. And as I was working through it over the last 18 months, I realized that certainly my focus is meant to be on Google Plus Hangouts on Air and on this particular brand of Celebrity Hangouts on Air. And what does that mean to me? I think when you, yes, it is private, Joyce, when you what does it mean to create this, to create Celebrity Hangouts on Air? For me, because it's a brand that I'm creating, I have to define it. I have to define it first, define all of the rules for Celebrity Hangouts on Air, and then communicate it to you, my audience, so that you can understand and you can either use it and like it or not like it. But I knew for a long time that, of course, I'm going to have to start email marketing, which I still haven't started, and I'm going to have to start even before then giving really great value to the community and establishing my own authority on websites where I haven't been seen before and where the audience is already existing and looking for people like me. And so I went first, I first connected with Dorie Clark nearly 2 years ago, and I saw her. She was within the sphere of people. I was preparing to hang out on air live with Guy Kawasaki, who was going to be my very first celebrity guest on my show. He had asked to be a guest after only 3 episodes of Sparkle SOS Book Authors and Publishers. And so I was researching. I had this theory really early on that the best way for me to leverage having a celebrity guest on my show, and I hadn't even had, Guy wasn't even on my show yet, and I was already leveraging that he was booked. I was out trying to get new guests, new book authors who were coming up with stuff. And so I was following Guy around on his digital footprint, and he was about to be speaking at, I think it was New Media Expo in Las Vegas in January 2013. And one of the speakers on the panel was Dorie Clark. I'd never heard of her before. I'd never seen her before. But when I clicked through on her image and her bio, I could see that she was just about to come out with her very first book, and that she was an established writer for Forbes and Harvard Business Review. And I thought, wow, here's a perfect candidate of someone who might be looking for a platform where they can talk about their upcoming book. And so I reached out to her and asked her if she'd like to be a guest on the show. And she has since been on the show. I think she's been on Hangouts on Air with me 4 or 5 times. And it was such an awesome experience for her. She'd never been on a Hangout on Air before. She really enjoyed it. She came on a month before her, before she was the featured guest on my show. She came on a month early, she says, to learn what the technology was all about, so that when it was her turn to be the featured guest, she wouldn't be nervous about the technology and all. And I thought that that was brilliant. But I also think she might have joined us a month early because we had Chris Guillebeau, the author of the $100 Startup, who was the second celebrity book author that I was able to book right after Guy Kawasaki. So for me, it's always been sort of a game of using the names and using the links of the people that I have, of the conversations that we have that are really compelling conversations. Even when the first couple of episodes had no celebrity guests, I would say I got the Forbes article because I had no celebrity guests at the start. Because what I did was I shared what was a really compelling conversation to me and said, hey, last night we sat down with a group of book authors and people working in publishing, and we had a really compelling conversation about self-publishing. And I happened to share that video link within a community on Google+ that I didn't even know at the time, but Guy Kawasaki was the owner of that community. So when he saw the link, and it was, the community was all about self-publishing. It was called Author, Publisher, Entrepreneur, which I had no idea was the name of that conversation. When he saw that I was doing a regular Hangout on air exactly about the subject of his book, and that he would probably be a perfect guest, he asked me, can I be a guest on your show sometime? And so working with Dorie Clark was, it was one of those things where I watched Dorie. She joined me. Not only was she the guest herself, and she joined me with Chris Guillebeau, she came back the month afterwards as well when I had Mike Michalowicz on the show for the first time. And a few months after, when she was on 3 months in a row on my show, I got to know her really well during that 3-month period. A few months after that, I started to notice that she was co-authoring articles with people she had met on my show. And so I was like, okay, so being on my show means that you might get an article in Forbes. This is really powerful stuff. I can promote that people who have been on my show have gotten coverage on Forbes because of meeting people on my show. And that was a really great way to start promoting it. And then I really, you know, I just kept in touch with Dorie. I always gave her feedback on what was really awesome about the support that she had, or the enthusiasm that she had for the show. I've always tried to offer her as much help and as much, you know, Hangouts on air. I would do Hangouts on air with Dorie every day if she asked me, but, you know, she likes to participate in the Hangouts that I do, and has been really supportive. And so I felt like when it was time for me to start guest blogging that, you know, that would be the right place to go. And I really did the research. I looked, just like I've said, you know, when you do your research, the best thing that you want to do is you want to research the media channels that exist for Hangouts on air, and look at who are the sponsors, who are the celebrity and influential guests that they're talking to, and who are the you know, what are the media channels that are having that conversation. And then, as I mentioned, you want to look for the areas in the conversation that you know that they need to be having, but they're not. That's the most important thing, is you want to fill a gap in the marketplace. When you are reading and participating in the conversations that are already happening in your industry, and your gut is, and your brain is screaming out, going, why is nobody talking about this? You know, there's some really important things that no one's recognizing, that nobody's talking about, that we really need to angle the conversation in this way, and it just so happens that it would be really beneficial to your business. That's probably the Hangout on air that you should be thinking about doing. But most importantly, I think what you want to do is you want to focus really on connecting with your audience guests, and I think that would answer the question is, you know, how did I get the Forbes, how did I scoop the Forbes opportunity? You know, I was focused on connecting with Dorie as well as I could. You know, I would consider her a friend. I don't really know her all that well, but that much support in business. She's my friend forever. She's a friend to my business and opportunity forever. So I think look at who you know within your community that is creating content, and see if you can give them content that will be of value to them, because that was what I knew, was if I submitted valuable content to Dorie that she could see using in Forbes, that she would consider using it, or she would find a way to get it included within the content, because she knows that I'm working for the exact same outcome as she is, which is to help enlighten her readers. And that was what it came down to. Sorry, I think that, does that answer your question, Leonardo?
Very well, thank you. Yeah.
Sorry, I think I rambled a little bit there. So, this Hangout on air, it's funny because I find Hangouts can go on for a really long time, even if I talk a lot and try and talk really quickly. And this one today, I said I was not going to go beyond an hour. And we got started just 2 or 3 minutes after 3 p.m. So what I do want to talk about is if you on the panel, if you have suggestions, there was a second part to what we were going to talk about today, which was how do you get more results from the investment that you make with your Hangouts on air? How do you get those results? And I want to go really quickly. I'm not sure whose phone is ringing in the background. Is that Joyce? I think so, because she's running. So I just muted her. But Leonardo, do you what is your end result? I want to know what is going to be successful for you in your Hangouts on air. How will you measure that success when you launch your show for your business? What will be success?
I think I'll have two markers. One is the audience participation, how many people I have, and also how many, the participation, the followers, etc., and also how much business I can generate from it. So, and also too, I guess the third, that should have been the first, is how many matches I can make. So let's put that one first. That's true. I really get a lot of pleasure from matching. To me, falling in love with your perfect partner is life's ultimate experience. I don't know if there's anything better than that. So that's what I get the most joy out of. So those 3 markers is helping the most people find their best love match, largest audience participation, and 3, the most business. Naturally, the third will follow from the audience participation if I market myself properly. So.
Absolutely. I think one of the things you want to keep in mind really quickly is find single celebrities and single influencers. If you can make yourself the person who matches up on your show, regular people with celebrities, nobody else is doing that. That will get you huge audience participation. Not everyone wants to date celebrities all the time, but I think that those are good. You do want to measure your audience and look at things like that. But the bottom line is always going to come down to, is the investment in your Hangout on air, the hours that you use to plan it every week and produce it every week, is it producing enough for your business as when you put your time just into your business? Right? Is it the most effective and efficient way of using your time to create sales in your business? And that's something that no one can answer but you. And the only way to answer it is to get in and start doing it. So I wish you the best of luck on that.
Thank you. Thank you
You're
very much.
Welcome. Joyce, I wanted to ask you as well, sorry, I just want to I want to make sure that I unmute you. I think yes, you're muted. Now you're unmuted. Are you muted?
I think you can hear me.
Okay. Now, yes, now you're unmuted. So I did want to ask you, for yourself as well, what would you be looking to get out of the Hangout on Air experience? Can you identify what would be a success for you in producing a Hangout on Air show?
Well, I'm thinking, my mind is going to a conference that I was unable to attend this weekend. And it's the conference for the Association of Sewing and Design Professionals, ASDP. And at that conference, the Threads magazine editor was given the Lifetime Achievement Award. Now I'm thinking, wouldn't that be wonderful if those people who could not attend that conference could somehow participate in that GLAD event? And could I be a part of putting something like that together? So it would be a way of bringing my community together and enjoy a period of time when, because we're spread out all around the country, any one place, there just aren't that many of us. So a way of bringing that sense of community to an organization would be fabulous.
I think you're thinking on exactly the right path, is use the tool of Google Plus Hangouts on Air to bring people together when they can't be physically in the same space. If you're in the same mental space and you're working on the same stuff, bring people together. And you being the host, you being the producer of a show, nobody else in the universe is putting their energy towards connecting this community. And
can I add one more thing here that's kind of a cute little story that started this?
Yeah.
Last year at conference time, I was having to stay back and not go to conference again, and there were others on a list. We were communicating about this and saying, oh, we just love to be at that member reception. So I did a Google, just a talk, a chat, among invited people to a virtual member reception.
Nice.
Now, had I been in the situation with the Hangout last year, I would have done a Hangout.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And the other thing is what you might not even realize that you've tipped into or triggered into is that when you are thinking of adding a Hangout on Air to an existing community event, to something that is already going on, this conference, including an award show, they're already creating a lot of awareness and excitement about the event. So it gives you a subject matter that is ripe to have a discussion about, even after the live event. Now, I know that, you said it was this weekend, probably this weekend upcoming, and you might, I would recommend, try and do something the best that you can. You're going to learn a ton from it. But what you can do is in a couple of weeks as well as you can reach out to the editor, I think, in chief of Threads magazine, and see if she would like to do a follow-up interview on Hangout on Air with you. And you can interview her about the entire experience, about how she won the award, about the impact of it, and you can invite in other guests from the community to have a live conversation with her for people that weren't able to participate. And then that entire video, I would say make sure that you go back to the conference organizing committee and make sure that they're invited to participate in that Hangout on Air. And say, for next year, let's start working together 6 months in advance of your conference next year. You're going to hire me to do an integrated Hangout on Air on site. So either they are going to sponsor your Hangout and you can stay at home and connect a virtual Hangout of people together, but promoting their event. Or they can sponsor you traveling to the event if that's something that you want to do a live Hangout on Air integrating virtual audience from around the world.
Great. Sounds exciting.
And I hope, viewers as well got some ideas from the conversation. Molly, did you, I know you have quite a bit of experience with Google Plus Hangouts on Air. When you're launching a Hangout on Air, what is it that you look for as a success metric? What confirms for you that the hours that you put into Hangouts on Air are worth the investment?
Right. I think for me, whenever I host a Hangout, one of the most important things is to have a unique selling point, meaning what is the person going to get from attending the Hangout? How are they going to benefit from it? And ultimately, when you have a unique selling point, you do see a return on your investment, meaning the time that you spend putting the Hangout together. And for me, when I have a successful Hangout, one of the metrics I look at is, do they come back to me in the future and say, hey, I've got a question about digital marketing, or hey, I heard you talking about search engine optimization, and I'm not sure if my website's optimized. Can you take a look? And ultimately, what happens from that is I'm able to monetize that free HOA in the form of taking a viewer and turning them into possibly a client. That's one of the metrics that I use just to see if the people I give free advice to, if they're able to take the advice I give them and turn around and gain their interest and then ultimately turn them into a customer.
And the answer to that is obviously, for the most part, yes.
Yes. That's my job.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, I would say for myself, it's pretty interesting because I also, the majority of benefit that I get from doing Google Plus Hangouts on Air is that it presents me to people who want to hire me to help them with their Hangouts. And I look also, I mean, I can't really look at conversion of traffic that I drive into my funnel and then convert. But what I look at is how many of the people that I connect with, that I become close to, convert into bringing benefit, bringing value into my business. And that could be as a client, or that could be someone who gives me a ton of publicity. You know, like Dorie Clark was an extremely successful, you know, like she doesn't pay me for doing Hangouts on Air, but the amount of value that she has given to me in her support is, it's almost priceless, but the beauty is I actually can put a price on it, which makes every Hangout I've done with her very, very valuable. And the same thing with you know, Guy Kawasaki and with any of the other celebrity guests that I've had on my show. A lot of people ask me, why is it that I charge certain people to produce Hangouts on Air for them and others I don't? And it's because of the value that their audience brings to my show and to this production of a Hangout on Air, which is a business activity. So we will be wrapping up the conversation. You know, an hour flies really quickly on Hangouts on Air. So that's the other thing that I like to say, you know, practice your Hangouts on Air because the conversation always goes really, really quickly. I do want to thank everyone who has watched not only the live recording, but also watching this video later. If you're interested in learning more information about celebrity Hangouts on Air, about my approach to planning, I do have a very special offer. You have to actually ignore what you see on the landing page and click through the buy button if you want to see a very special rate. But you can go to, for me, for Celebrity Hangouts on Air, and I'm not saying that it's the only place that you can get training on Hangouts on Air, but it is the only place you can find my training, which is celebrityhangoutsonAir.com/join2014 2014. And as I mentioned, I just changed the rate. I wanted to give a sample rate on the Level 1 Celebrity Hangouts on Air. So if you are watching here from Firepole Marketing, anytime in the next 7 days from this live video, and you want to take advantage and you want to try out Celebrity Hangouts on Air, the Level 1 launch program, which is six videos and a full pack of templates and swipe files, you can get it for $19 per month for 5 monthly payments. I have never offered it at that price before. Like I said, it is just for Firepole Marketing. You can try it. After the 5 months, you will have lifetime access, or you can cancel anytime if you decide it's absolutely not for you. But my training program still comes with the same satisfaction guarantee, which everything does, which is that if you get into it, you get full access to Level 1 training. Get in there. If you are watching the videos and applying what I tell you to do in planning the Hangouts and you're not getting the type of results that you want, within 90 days, reach out to me, and I will work with you directly and individually to make sure that you are achieving the exact results that you want from your Hangouts on air. Because this is a new program, it's a fairly small community, so I have the time to work with people individually, but I really want to see you taking action and making definitive choices. You know, the first thing you have to do is set your date and schedule it on Google+. So I encourage you to do that. I encourage you to reach out. I do want to, each of the panel guests, I want to give you the opportunity to tell the audience where they can find you online. I'm going to start with Molly. If you could let people know where they can reach out to you if they want to continue the conversation with you after today.
Sure. You can visit my website, designrightforyou.com. It's DESIGNRIGHT4u.com. You can also find me on pretty much every social media profile: Google+, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Pinterest. I'm everywhere. Just type my name, Molly Youngblood Geiger, and into Google.com, and I'm everywhere. So just Google it.
Just Google and pick which link you like. So where can people find you?
Are you talking to me? I'm sorry.
Yes, let people know where they can find you and where they can, participate in your upcoming Hangouts on air, or where you can help them find love.
Well, I live up here in Southern California, so no. On my website is thecompanionator.com, and you can find my videos. If you Google me at Companionator, you can find me like Molly all over the place. But my website is probably the best place that has all my links there too.
Okay, and Leonardo, you'll be starting your Hangout on Air show hopefully in a few weeks. So if you're interested in joining his show, reach out to him because he's going to get started really soon. Hi, Joyce.
Hi.
So where can people find your blog or your content to continue this conversation if they want to join you?
Well, a couple of places. My website is jsmtailoringtools.com. And I have a Facebook page under the same name, so they can get to my Facebook fan page pretty easily. And I'm not doing much on the other social media options yet, and I did just begin a blog, so that's the scoop.
Perfect. Well, thank you for joining us. And like I said, if Joyce or Leonardo or Molly or myself have said anything today that inspired you, if you are or are not, if you're not a part of the Audience Business Masterclass community, I encourage you to leave comments on Firepole Marketing, where you'll find this video, or even sharing this video, anywhere else on the web, on social media. As I mentioned, you can always use the hashtag #LiveOnFirepole, and that way I'll find your comments, good, bad, in between. I appreciate all of the feedback that people have for me, and it all, it helps. It all helps. So thank you, everyone, for participating. Thank you for watching, and I hope to hear from you soon.
Thanks, Debbie.
Thanks. Bye.